Right, third unit.
Welcome back to Advocacy Alchemy with Professor Ross. Today we have a good one, guys. Today's lesson is a cautionary tale that could easily have ended in tragedy. We're looking at a high-speed pursuit through Ohio that ends in a rollover crash. A driver that's bleeding, so it'll be blurred, and a series of poor decisions that turn one woman's life upside down. Now, this wasn't some Hollywood stunt. It's a real-world example of what happens when you panic and you make the wrong call behind the wheel. So let's break all this down from the road to the law and learn why this chase went too far. With that, let's jump in.
Well, that's just bad timing. King Frank Victor 2387. King Frank Victor 2387. They're not stopping. Southbound 32. Reason for the stop was 82. King Frank Victor 2367. I believe it's a white car.
Where's that return to? The owner of the email?
2367.
1756, okay.
1756, we're coming up now.
The traffic looking like that.
We're in the right lane, moderate traffic, 70 miles an hour.
Is going to catch up momentarily. Clear reinforcement white male, 4511, 2283.
Southbound 30 over 6, 85 miles an hour, right lane, moderate traffic.
They're 9 units available to spike 6.
Once 1756 gets up here, we'll try to block them in. They keep getting stuck in traffic and they're not trying to recklessly get out of it, they're just slowing down. Probably 79 or 86 or 19.
19.2, can you identify the driver? Start. 1756 at the radio.
Hello. White female driver, black hair, 40s.
Passing 60 for 18 or 82. Light traffic right now. We're trying to box her in. Stand by. Yeah, she sees us. She's totally going around us. 1922.
believe so. She made eye contact with us. I think it's going to be 79. She doesn't seem to care. She's not really trying to run away and run away. She's just out of it. Southbound 26 over 8.
6 will be down the county line. Traffic.
Off the right side of the road. Probably on 31. Right, 31. Start EMS.
Start squad, signal 5, emergency turn off the red, rolled over about 6 times, call for safety.
Yep, yeah.
Hey, fire hydrant, or
No seatbelt.
I smell something. Hey! She's alive. Come out! Get out here! Climb
Grab
out!
gloves.
Hey, get the mechanic's gloves.
What?
Get mechanic's gloves.
Yeah.
You stay with her. Watch her.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Don't move. Don't move. Don't move. EMS coming. Why'd you do that? Where are you going? Where?
You got alcohol right there in your left front. You got alcohol. What's your name?
She's bleeding from the head.
I'll get caught.
I can't tell if it's minor laceration or more.
That's from the crash. Pull over.
Can you hear me? Did you cut your head? Okay, were you wearing your seatbelt? Should be just a cut. She advised she was wearing a seatbelt. She said she's trying to run from people chasing her. People have a GPS on her, I guess.
Did I see you, nurse?
We're not moving her quite yet. She was wearing a seatbelt though, so
She was.
that's what she said.
She's
Good.
stay still, sweetheart.
I think she sideswiped it earlier. It was very minor paint transfer.
Stay still.
I think that was from the first time she cut off. I felt something. I wasn't 100% sure.
I got gloves if you need some.
Yeah, your head's
I don't know if there's any knives in here or not either.
Hey, what?
Knives? There's some
right.
prescription.
Keep
I got
still,
some saxophone.
right?
Well, then it was completely intact, but it's 31.
Everybody else is okay, all right?
so start the next available. Signal 5.
Okay, right now I think all the blood just from this laceration, they bleed really bad.
Okay.
She can tell me where she's at and what's happening and everything.
Did you get, do you have gauze?
I don't have any gauze in my. They got rid of them.
There's one container with alcohol in there as well. Good.
You want some gloves? Plastic gloves?
Just in case.
Here.
I don't know if I like much touches.
We got
Are you feeling
sterile
okay,
dressing.
sweetheart?
I assume this is some sort of wrap. EMS is on the way.
I think she's okay right now.
We have other stuff too.
What?
We have other stuff too right behind you.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do have
You say you're ER?
I see you.
I see you. I see you.
I'm
nurse.
on my way to work. You guys gonna give me a work note?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right, sweetheart, I'm just gonna put this on your head, okay? Just to help out.
11, I'm gonna check 2, roll back. That's time.
Next, let's take a look at the law. Remember, this is in Ohio, so we're looking at the Ohio Revised Code. First, we have failure to comply with orders or signals of police officers. This is found at section 2921.331, and it says, failing to stop when ordered by law enforcement becomes a third-degree felony if a driver willfully flees and creates a substantial risk of harm. Now, this carries a penalty of between 9 and 36 months in prison, a fine of up to $10,000, and potential license suspension. Now, the range on this license suspension is said to be 3 years up to a full revocation, so life suspension. All right. Next, we have operating a vehicle while under the influence, OVI. This is found at section 4511.19, and this says driving under the influence of alcohol or other drugs, even without a chemical test, can be charged based on behavior and what the police officer observed, things like an open alcohol container or a person's erratic driving. All right, if this is a first offense, it can carry anything from 3 days in jail to 6 months in jail. All right, a fine of between $375 and $1,075. License suspension potentially between 1 and 3 years. A potential ignition lock put on to your starter, where a person has to blow into it before it can start, all those sorts of things. Or having to get into a substance abuse treatment program. All those can be ordered based on what the factors are in the incident. Next, reckless operation. This is found at section 4511.20. This involves driving with willful or wanton disregard for others' safety. Here, the woman's aggressive speed, disregard for commands. Look, the officer drove behind her for 9 minutes, what we watched, with lights on and sirens going. There was dangerous maneuvering, and that all qualifies under this reckless operation. The first offense is a minor misdemeanor, carrying only a small fine of up to $150. For a second offense, it's a misdemeanor in the 4th degree, I believe they call it, and that's going to be up to 30 days in jail, a fine of $250. Third or more, 60 days in jail for each time, and a fine of up to $500. You also get 4 points on your license. You could receive a license suspension depending on what has happened in the past. All right. You also got things like the seatbelt law still applies. If you have a wreck and they think you weren't wearing your seatbelt, this could come up. This is at section 4513.263. Carries a penalty of $30. All right. If your passenger's not wearing a seatbelt, $20 for your passenger. All right. You don't get any points or jail based on not wearing a seatbelt. It's a pure infraction there in Ohio. Now, let's talk about something else that comes up during an investigation after a person has a wreck or you go through a chase. Falsification, giving the police false information. All right, this is covered under the Ohio Revised Code section 2921.13. And this law defines making knowingly false statements during an official investigation can escalate to a felony. So anything else that you've been doing, anything else you're dealing with, it can bring it up, increase it into a felony range. So generally, it would be a first-degree misdemeanor, 180 days in jail, a fine up to $1,000. But if you're going to affect some other proceedings that's happening, a bigger investigation, it could be a fourth-degree felony that carries between 6 months and 18 months in prison, and a fine of up to $5,000. Now, I don't think I've talked about in a very long time the difference between jail and prison. Usually, when you hear the term prison, that means someone has been convicted of a felony, which means they can be held for more than 1 year in confinement. Jail is usually the term for the county level detention, usually for less than 1 year. And that person can be held for more than 1 year in a jail, but the general term is more than 1 year prison, less than 1 year jail. All right, next we'll move into our evidentiary standards. In every case, civil or criminal, the law runs on evidence, but not all evidence is equal. Courts recognize different levels of proof. Let's go over 6 important ones here, and these are all where the facts determine whether someone will walk free or face judgment. So first, let's start with the lowest, mere suspicion. That's simply a gut reaction or a feeling that something's off or wrong, but there's no specific facts to prove anything just yet. Think of it as when your intuition is going off, but you don't have any justification. A good example is the officer first spotting this vehicle weaving and driving fast while being surrounded by traffic. He may have had a mere suspicion that something was off, but nothing to justify a stop just yet. But it was enough to keep an eye on that car. Moving up a level, reasonable suspicion. Now we're talking about when the police have identifiable facts such as speeding, a failure to signal, erratic behavior, something. This gives officers the legal right to initiate a stop. A good example is the moment she refused to yield, she accelerated and bypassed different police units trying to stop her. That behavior elevated the police officer's authority. Now they had reasonable suspicion that she was violating traffic laws and potentially evading law enforcement. Now moving up another level, we come to probable cause. Now this is when the government has enough concrete evidence to believe that a specific crime has been committed and the suspect is involved. Now this isn't just a hunch. This is the point when you can trigger an arrest, or you can trigger a search or potential prosecution. This is the level where everything really starts when we talk about court and things of that nature. For example, here, once this woman fled the police, she sideswiped the car, crashed her vehicle, and alcohol was discovered inside. There's probable cause for her arrest, and it's fairly firm. Additionally, there's probably justification to both detain her and search her vehicle based on what's clearly seen and smelled when they rescue her. Moving up one more level, we have preponderance of the evidence. Now this standard is used mostly in civil cases. Those are cases where a person is simply suing for money. The standard is only more likely than not, and that simply means that 51% of the evidence is in your favor to win your claim. Most DMV hearings initially are at this level. I mean, they only have to prove 51%. It's not very hard to tip the scale in their favor to say, suspend that person's license. Now, when we're talking about a person's professional license, we go up one more level. We start talking about clear and convincing evidence. Now, this is a higher standard. This requires probably 75% of the evidence being in your favor to win this type of claim. Clear and convincing evidence means that it's highly probable that the claim is true. Now, this is used in cases where very significant rights are being dealt with. Things like custody for children and employment, administrative hearings, certain DMV suspension hearings will also be dealt with at this level. Now, a good example is if the prosecutor wanted to push for some enhancement to the operating a vehicle while impaired sentence due to her level of recklessness or some past behavior, they might need to prove it to this clear and convincing standard that she acted with extreme disregard for public safety, even if her blood alcohol content testing wasn't available. Finally, we have the highest standard in our system, beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, this is considered the gold standard. This is what prosecutors must meet for each element of crimes that they bring. This means there's no other reasonable alternative besides the guilt of the defendant. Here, to convict this woman of felony fleeing, the jury must believe beyond a reasonable doubt that she willfully fled law enforcement and that her driving created a substantial risk of serious harm. Here we had the body cam, we saw the crash, the alcohol, and her statements will all factor in. Alright, so now let's step into the shoes of the jury. You're sitting in the courtroom, you've watched all the dash cam, and you've heard what the body cam has to say. You've seen the crash, the alcohol, the aftermath. Now it's your job to decide, is this woman legally responsible, or is she a victim of fear, confusion, and perhaps something else? Let's start with the big questions first. Number one, was this a willful flight from the police, or was it a panic response? The law doesn't excuse fear, but your role is to decide whether this was intentional evasion or just bad judgment under stress. She kept driving even after multiple units tried to box her in. She chose to flee, not once, but continuously until she crashed. Would a reasonable person fearing for their safety still ignore sirens, lights, and lawful orders? Number two, what role did alcohol play? Open containers were found, no test results were mentioned in the footage, but the officers clearly smelled alcohol. Her behavior was erratic, her coordination questionable, and her story was confusing. Would you believe this woman was sober? Does the lack of a breath test raise doubts or just delay the obvious? Number three, what about the claim that people were tracking her by GPS? Now, this is where your credibility comes into play. Jurors must evaluate not just the facts, but also the demeanor of the witness. She claimed unknown individuals were following her. No evidence of that was found. No suspicious vehicles. No phone in hand suggesting navigation. Does this sound like a person escaping danger or someone trying to manufacture an excuse after they got caught? Number four, how does it affect you if you know that she had to have a nurse treat her right there at the scene? Does that go more toward showing that she really was injured, or that simply the accident itself was so serious that someone needed to treat her immediately? It's actually a blessing the nurse was on the scene and close by. All right, and finally, your intuition. This is where you go beyond the facts and into legal instinct. Did something about her behavior make you feel like she was hiding something? Did her calmness after the crash seem rehearsed? And was your gut feeling telling you she wasn't being truthful? Now, we're not asking you to convict just on how you feel about a person, but legal intuition is part of almost every jury deliberation. It's about assessing the truthfulness, the coherence, and the behavior of the person under pressure. Here, do the facts support a felony charge of fleeing and reckless endangerment? Or do you see a person who was scared, made a mistake, and didn't fully grasp the consequences? Let me know your verdict in the comments below. Guilty or not guilty? Now, let's bring it all back together. This wasn't a momentary lapse in judgment. It was a chain of bad decisions stacked one after another. You have speeding, evading officers, ignoring commands, and crashing out. Whether fueled by alcohol, fear, or fiction, this ended in blood, broken glass, and a court case that's going to follow her for a very long time. Ohio law is clear. When police lights go on, you stop. When you're scared, ask for help. What you don't do is run. This chase could have killed her, it could have killed someone else, and all for what? A few extra minutes of freedom, a made-up excuse about GPS trackers, a desperate hope that maybe no one would catch her. The consequences were real and could have been so much worse. This is a perfect example of when we always say, don't do this. We're talking about this kind of case. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me, guilty or not guilty? What level of evidence do you think was reached once the police finally got to her? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who might find it interesting. One bad choice on the road could change your whole life. Remember, this is Advocacy Alchemy, and I am Professor Ross. I'll see you tomorrow. Stay safe out there, and everybody have a good day.